Hello, all you beautiful people. How you guys doing today? I bet you haven't heard that for a while. It's me, Meteor Falcon. I'm back, making Elsword stuff. Psych, it's just gonna be this one video. I thought about this for a while, making one final Elsword video to kind of cap out, like, that saga for my content creator kind of, like, stuff. I already did that with my streaming, but I feel like I never truly capped out the YouTube. I just kind of slowly faded away from the YouTube side for Elsword. So I think, yeah, we'll make one final Elsword video and, like, gather up all my thoughts and then talk about it and tell you guys. And yeah, this is going to be exciting. It's mostly just going to be me, like, ranting and raving away, talking about Elsword. Prosper is going to grow a new audience, etc, etc. We got all the answers here, and I'm going to talk about it with you all. So just to start, who am I? Who is this loser? Who is this bozo? For people who've never seen me before, I am Meteor Falcon. I used to make a lot of content for Elsword. On the YouTube side of things, I used to make guides, I used to make news videos, I used to make, like, update videos going over the updates. I used to do, like, raid carries, stuff like that. What else? We did, like, tier lists. We did it all, right? I was kind of like the generic, like, making the like standard content that people would for I was gonna say Genshin Impact. That's what I do now is Genshin Impact, but for Elsword, right? I was just your Joe Schmo making all the good Elsword content. People have a lot of fond memories of that, and do appreciate the people who did enjoy my content back in the day. And just to kind of give you guys a 411 of, like, oh, did he completely quit? I never really quit Elsword. As in, I would log in like once every 3 months just to see if Nova got buffed, and then if he did, I would play, like, the Giga Prominence mod. Oh my goodness, so freaking good. Here, we'll talk about that really quickly. Let's get a little bit of hype, right? The things they did for Nova, honestly, great stuff. If I was still making content for Elsword like I did back in the day, I would have been so hyped for all the big Nova stuff. Like Giga Prominence mod, mwah, beautiful. Do you guys remember back in the day, you used to talk about, oh, Nova never has any clearing, Nova never has any clearing, and I actually made a theory about what Giga Prominence mod could be, and honestly, the thing that they made Giga Prominence mod is kind of similar to the idea I had. I don't know if people remember that video, but I did make a video talking about, like, oh, what would be good for Nova to have, which was, again, clearing. It's not the best clearing in the world, but, having something, and of course, he's still, like, great against big bosses and things like that, which is, I still appreciate that that's, like, his main job. And they included more big bosses as, like, raid fights and things like that. Fantastic stuff. Love it, great, good stuff. They've been doing a good job with Nova, and I respect that. And let's piggyback off that to kind of talk about the good, right? Before, it's like the good, the bad, the ugly. Before we talk about the bad, let's talk about the good, right? Remember what I said like 2 minutes ago, right? Is like I never truly quit Elsword, right? I would come back to check out Nova, and I think that is genuinely still to this day their biggest strength. Character identity in this game is beautiful, outstanding. They really hit something magical and special with their characters. All the characters in Elsword, I can't say too much about Lithia just because I didn't play when Lithia was around. But they have such great character identity. People really do love and adore all these characters. The artistic department, bro, Elsword's artistic division, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. They're still hidden bangers to this day. I don't know anything about Lithia, but seeing Lithia's pads and seeing all her different, like, art styles and things like that still looks amazing, beautiful. Maybe we should pull it up here real quick. I got a video of me playing the most recent event in the background, but maybe we'll pull up a little bit of Lithia here. Yeah, this video is kind of freeform. It doesn't really have a structure, right? But, like, I don't know anything about this Lithia character, but if I look at these arts, I'm just like, dude, I know exactly who Lithia is. I know exactly what type of character each of these pads are, and they're each so, like, okay, this one's just kind of harsher, but but even then, right? It's just like they look so good, and it really does. If you like Lithia, and, like, especially the fourth path, this kind of like jester-looking thing. Oh, it's so, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I can never praise this enough. Is Elsword's art department? They are putting in the time. They are going overtime. They're going overtime in how hard they are cooking. And again, that's one of the biggest and best aspects about this game, is that they really do put a lot of love, dedication, and effort into making these characters amazing, and that's what keeps people playing this game. And kind of alluding to my final disposition or opinion here, is that really does keep people in the game. If I didn't like Raven, right, if I only played Elsword for, like, I don't know, the content or the gameplay or whatever, I wouldn't have kept playing every 3 months. The only reason I'm playing every 3 months here and there is because I want to check out my boy Nova, see what buffs he got and things like that. Character identity and, like, diversity and how important they make that is something that Elsword does genuinely really well. They do it very, very well. Not many other games do it as well as Elsword does. So, positive point number one, and something that will keep them as, I guess, not a dead game, is characters. Characters. Even if they buff some, nerf some, if some might not feel as strong as others like that. Again, the art style, the gameplay, and just the identity that you can tie yourself to with each of these characters is always top tier, and it will keep them afloat. I mean, it has kept them afloat for who knows how long, but that is a big plus. Okay, second good point, gameplay. Gameplay in brackets uniqueness, right? It's not just Elsword's gameplay, and I wouldn't even particularly say that Elsword's gameplay is really that good. It's very enjoyable, but the fact that you cannot get the gameplay of Elsword anywhere else is, one, astounding, and two, is genuinely one of its biggest advantages back in the day, and still is to this day. Definitely, especially because I feel like companies are way more into, like, you know, 3D style games, either like shooter type games like with Marvel Rivals, or with just Genshin Impact copies like NTE, Anata coming out soon, Wuthering Waves, Genshin itself, right? Everything wants to be a Genshin right now. Everything wants to be a Genshin. It's funny that live service games are a big thing, because, like, Elsword itself is a big live service game, right? But yeah, its uniqueness in the space really, really does help, because you can't get this Elsword experience anywhere else. I love to explain Elsword in the sense of, like, explaining it like it is a MMO that plays like Super Smash Brothers almost, right? I think that's always the best way for me to describe how this game is. Like, you're playing an MMO, but you're playing the MMO with the gameplay of Super Smash Brothers. I think that's a beautiful and amazing way to describe it, and it's very appealing too. I think it is very, very appealing. The gameplay feels great, in my opinion, for the most part. I think some of the later areas, as I was playing the most recent event, like what was it called, Fabricated City, Serpentium, or whatever is. It's either Serpentium or whatever is past Serpentium. I don't know. I've only done it once. Some of the boss fights, especially when they ignore, like, skill frames, are just like, this is just a chore. And we'll go into that maybe on the next. We're staying positive. Stay positive. Stay positive. The core gameplay is great. They really struck gold with the core gameplay. It feels good to control each of the characters. Again, going back to the characters thing for a little bit, each character feels unique to play. They kind of each have their own gameplay styles, and each of the classes have their own gameplay styles too. And that's a fantastic and fun thing, and it is really, really good. And I think they did a good job with programming that and all that stuff. And I think they still continue to do a pretty good job. Like, Lithia just came out. 4 more new paths, each of them feeling unique. I only played a little bit, I think, of Lithia third path because I needed it for synergy. I played it and I was like, yeah, Lithia feels pretty unique. Like, she has a little bit of, like, how would I say? Maybe a little bit of, like, Alessis, a little bit like a Labby, a little bit of Ara, kind of like feeling to it. And a lot of the times, like, a lot of her skills feels like, oh, this is just the clearing skill. This is just the bossing skill. Whatever. Okay, I gotta stop being negative. No, we're being positive right now. We gotta be positive. Anyway, yeah. Gameplay, super fun, super unique. You're not getting this gameplay anywhere else. It's very unique to Elsword, and they do a very good job of differentiating each of the classes in how they play, and that is a very good thing. And I do think that does assist with keeping this game up and keeping this game afloat. All right. Honestly, those are the two biggest positives. I'm gonna be honest with you. Those are the two biggest positives that I could say. I think there are some other tiny positives. But in terms of like, we're taking the big, right, the big ideas. If you guys have any like other positives, I guess you can leave it in the comments. But maybe don't leave it in the comments because you guys make this, I don't know, because I'm not getting a follow-up, so it'd be sad if I got comments talking about this stuff and like I never did a follow-up. But whatever, we're not doing a follow-up, so it is what it is. It's all just in this little bubble, you know. We're it's fine, it's cool. Okay, so we did the good. Now let's do the bad. And by the bad, I don't mean bad. I more so mean like medium bad. Because this game, I think the epitome of this game is medium bad or medium good. It's just like it hits that perfect medium where it's like just enough but not quite enough to be good. And I think this event is a perfect example of that. Okay, so in this event that I'm doing right now in game, plus 11 free ran weapon. I don't know what people call it. I think it's like SOA or something, but I'm gonna call it ran weapon because that's what, before I left the game, that's kind of what I called it. I'm still gonna call it that. So plus 11 ran weapon from the ran raid. Okay, so starting off at the top is plus 11 is amazing. It is something that a free-to-play player's end goal is plus 11. And so giving that for free is an amazing thing. It is great. However, it's outdated. Already at the jump, one of their biggest events is giving us an outdated weapon. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? It's like, it's a good thing because it is a plus 11 weapon, and, you know, giving it to everybody for free is a good thing, but it's already outdated. They put it out in an outdated sense. Am I saying that they should give away a plus 11 of the best weapon right now? You know, maybe. I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe, you know, it goes into the main argument that I'm making is they'll never give you the best thing. You always need to put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. But that's a whole different point. So again, let's talk about this whole medium thing with another example, right? They put before I left, the last big update that they did is they put battle passes in the game, which is something that I pined for a long time. A lot of my videos before I left content creating for Elsword was it'd be awesome if they added a battle pass, right? For live service games, a battle pass is one of the best things because it offers a low budget option for high value. In any video game that you play, the battle pass is always one of the best things where you get a lot of bang for your buck, right? You put a little bit of investment in, but you get a lot of benefit out there because it's like a two-pronged machine. It's you funding the game while also you funding your time into the game, because usually with most battle passes, you need to play a lot too. So it's like you're getting double investment, but the players are getting a lot of investment for the money that they put in, so it feels good, right? It helps the company a lot because they get money and they get time, and it helps the players a lot because they didn't have to pay that much money and they got a lot of bang for their buck. Okay, that's a lot of explaining for battle passes, and then here's the big kicker, right? Here's the good and the bad. It's like they did battle passes, but the way Elsword did battle passes was really bad. Number one is the cost was way too high. I don't know if they changed it in the time that I used to play versus now. I think it was like $20, right? Or $25. And like, that's a lot for a battle pass. Most battle passes are 10 to 20, with 20 being very rare, and most of the times 20 is like the advanced quote-unquote battle pass. The standard battle pass for most video games is $5 to $10 to maybe $15. So one, they already fumbled on the price, and then two, they kind of fumbled on the rewards for what I remember. From what I remember from people, when people were first talking about the battle pass, it was like, oh, the battle pass is worth it for the money, but it's just worth it. The thing with the battle pass is it's supposed to be the best thing you can get, and it's like the value is almost triple or quadruple the value that you paid for it. But the problem was that it wasn't. It was worth the price, and then that was it. It was just worth the price. But that's not what a battle pass was supposed to be. It's supposed to be like 3 times or 4 times the value that you put in, because you're also dedicating your time to finish it. So they didn't really comprehend. The Elsword devs never comprehended truly what a battle pass was supposed to be. Again, this is the argument that I'm making here, is that Elsword does good things, but they never go the full good, right? It's always the halfway good. Okay, third example, number 3. They finally added pity enhance to the game. Yay, they added pity enhance. It's so cool. I've personally asked for pity enhance for years, right? I made so many videos, at least like 10 videos plus, talking about why they should add pity enhance. Pity enhance would be amazing. Pity enhance would keep people playing, having a goal, etc., etc. We all know the good arguments with pity enhance. And it's like, "Oh my goodness, they put pity enhance to the game and it's amazing." And of course they half-assed it, right? They did it halfway, just like I'm saying with this entire point, is like, okay, pity enhance is in the game, but guess what? You get a tiny sliver per click. What is it, like 0.02 to the 100% guarantee? It's like, oh wait, we put it in the game, guys, we put it in the game. But it's like, bro, it's like such a tiny sliver. And same thing with the battle pass, where it's just like, oh, the price is worth it for the cost. It's like with this pity enhance thing, it's like, okay, it's good that we have this system and it's definitely worth it, but by the time you hit the pity for pity enhance, you would have enhanced that weapon to that point anyway. It's like, maybe it's saving you a couple of clicks, and again, having a guarantee is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. All I'm saying is that the amount of clicks it takes for the pity enhance, you would have got the enhance anyway, right? And that is the Elsword problem of just like, oh, we'll do a good thing, but we'll do it a little bit good, so it's like, yeah, we're close, but not really. Yeah, it's the main thing, I think, holding this game. Is it the main thing that's holding this game back? It's almost holding this game back and also keeping it afloat, because you can make the argument, and this is, at this point, I think this is a very good argument to make, is if you were a little bit more generous, that is a risk. At this point in this game's lifespan, it is surviving off of its whales, right? Going back to the kind of argument I was talking about in the beginning, where it's just like, people are really dedicated to like the characters and the gameplay to this game. People are very, very dedicated to this game, and they very much enjoy it, and they will dump money into this game, right? They will dump money into this game because they are dedicated to the characters, to the game, or to whatever it is, right? And Elsword is thriving and surviving off of that. KOG has made a couple of games, at least back in the day when I used to make content. I'll be honest, they kind of flopped. Right? What was that one game that was kind of like 3D, and it had like break and like HP damage? See, bro, I don't even remember anymore. I don't even know if that game is up. And do you guys know what I'm talking about? They tried to make a game at one point, and like it was more PvP focused. It was like a 3D arena type game. It didn't really have dungeons, it just kind of had bosses, and like the PvP was like the big focus. I don't remember, maybe you guys remember. And each of them, they're pretty big flops. Elsword is the thing that really did put them on the map and has kept them afloat for a long time. And you could very well make the argument of just like, why rock the boat? Why take the risk of giving players, why risk the idea of potentially getting players who will stay dedicated to your game and may pay good amounts throughout, versus like catering to your whale audience, and what works does work and it does keep you afloat. I think there's a very good argument there of like, why change a strategy if this strategy is really keeping us afloat, or it's not really worth it to take a risk now because this is kind of all we have type thing. I think there is definitely an argument, because that's the big argument, right? With doing things like making the battle pass. Well, the battle pass thing is stupid, because it's just like, if they made it more worthwhile, that's more benefit to that. Whatever, I don't care. I'm done arguing with the battle pass because I think it's such missed potential. Anyway. But let's just talk about the plus 11 SOA, right? Let's say they change plus 11 SOA to plus 11, what is it called? Doom Arporia or something like that. Let's say they changed plus 11 Rand Weapon to plus 11 Doom Arporia, right? What if they change that? Is that worth the risk of like, you bump your players up to all the current content, you get rid of that criticism that like, if people play your game, nobody can reach the current content because it takes way too much time, way too much grind, way too much money, or whatever it is, right? Is that more beneficial to you as a company to keep you afloat? And if the answer is maybe not, I mean, honestly, kind of fair enough at that point, right? Like, kind of fair enough. It's not like Elsword is doing super hot, and we'll talk about that right now. Most recently, Elsword has added a solo buff, and it's like a super solo buff, and they're adding more solo content in general. I noticed the secret dungeon that just came out, really good update, by the way. I think the secret dungeon change update, fantastic. It's up there with like the Henair update of like, oh, this they took an old content and they made it a lot better for current content in a cool way. Going from Henair, from using old weapons to now force skills. I think changing secret dungeons from like, oh, it's like a stepping stone in your process to like, oh, this is the ED spot. This is where you really get ED. You know, because they had to stop bots, right, in the doing like spamming the story, getting up to, I think it was like you could get 200 mil if you just did the normal story from like level 1 to level 99. I remember that was a thing. So people, you know, of course, put bots in there and then just get a bunch of money, and then you inflate the market. Now it's like, okay, you get money from like, of course, selling was always a thing, but now you can get it from like running these secret dungeons, which do take a good amount of effort, and doing it solo does kind of help mitigate the whole like bot strategy by a lot, because you can't just like take bots with you. So that's a thing. But again, it has this trend of like solo content, and now we have the solo raid buff, which again has a trend of solo content. Now I'm not saying solo content or having something solo is a bad thing, but I do think it sets a precedent for like, okay, so if we're catering a little bit more to solo stuff, we have this raid content that is baked in, right? It's supposed to be baked in that this is something you do with a team, something you do with a party, right? It's like the core crux of an MMO is raids, right? The heart and soul of an MMO, in my opinion, really is raids. It really does test your coordination, your teamwork and things like that, etc., etc. Now, if you're changing that to solo stuff, it does set this precedent that kind of like, ooh, we might be bleeding players here, right? We might be having a lower amount of players. Like, we might be having more people that really kind of want to do solo stuff, and, you know, let's cater to that a little bit more, because there might not be that many players playing right now, or not as much players from before. I do think it does kind of set that. If you really think about it, I do think, again, for the ED one, for secret dungeons, it makes sense to do solo because you don't take bots with you. And the raid stuff, it's only old raids that you can get the solo buff. But still, I do think it does set this idea of just like, we might be bleeding players, we might be losing players here, and so doing something like a solo buff here really does benefit kind of the audience that we have now, where it's like not as many people, and that they have the ability to do these things alone, because they're not going to find a party. You're not going to find a Rosso party normally these days, or you're not going to find maybe like a birth party. You have to try really hard to find a birth party, or maybe Ran. I don't know how frequent Ran is these days, but maybe it's like the same thing where it's just like, oh, it may be very difficult to find a Ran party. So it's offering the solo option because there's not enough people in this other type of content, right? So it does set this kind of precedent, which goes into this main video's argument of just like, is Elsword dying? Is Elsword gonna die? I mean, it's interesting, right? I think the solo buff is definitely the most kind of route or path to them, eventually being like, dead game, shutting down the game. There's not enough players to really like, what's the word? There's not enough players to really justify. There you go, justify the game being up. But at the same time, I'm being a little 50-50 right now, being a little bit flexible of just like, it could at the same time genuinely be just like, hey, this is where the community is right now. People would rather not have to be annoyed with doing all this older stuff and be able to just run it by themselves, because that is the community that we have now. And like, it's them being flexible, right? It's them adapting, it's them adapting to the current, what is it? What do you call it? The current status, whatever, I'm going to call it status. I think there's a better word. The current status of the Elsword community, of just like, this just works better for the current status of the Elsword community, right? And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but I do think it does set a certain precedent of just like, oh, is this game ending soon because they're having a solo buff? I don't think so necessarily, but it does offer a look into like what they're kind of doing right now. Okay, so that's the good, the bad, right? or not really bad, more like medium. But now let's talk about the ugly, right? Or the actual bad, right? With this, that was more like the good, the medium slash frustrating. This is the bad. All right, let's talk about the bad, the stuff that's like, this is bad stuff and still in the game. And like, honestly, the worst part about the bad stuff is that it's still in the game, and it ain't gonna change. It ain't gonna change. Number one, number always will be number one. The most recent content will be whale only, and there is nothing you can do to stop that, especially raids. Any new raid that comes out, that is whale only, and you either are a whale, or you know a whale as a friend in order to do it, or you're playing a support character that can just barely reach where you can get into to do the raid. That is going to be the number one frustrating thing. That is going to be the number one annoying thing. And that is going to be the reality for the rest of this game's history. Unless I am proven wrong, right? We talked about a little bit. The middle point is like, I feel like Elsword's at a point where it's just like, to stay afloat, they need to do this type of stuff. But even back in the day, man, people knew me as the person who would like always kind of stayed decently up to snuff with stuff, right? I wasn't fully free to play. I wasn't fully a whale. I was kind of in the middle. I would always call myself a budget player, right? I would always call myself a budget player because I always had like plus 11 and things like that, but I would never go beyond that, right? And it was still hard for me to do. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, full mask off, full transparency. The only reason I was able to get like ran raid, I never did ran raid. The only reason I was able to get like Rasa raid done and Birth raid done at around the time that I did is I got lucky, bro. I had people who would recognize me and be like, "Oh, you don't do ran raid? I mean, I keep saying ran raid. You don't do Rasa raid. You don't do Birth raid." I was like, no, not really. I don't really have a party. And they would really help me out and help me to clear weekly. And that's how I would clear weekly, is getting lucky because I was a content creator, right? That's all. Is just me getting lucky because I was a content creator. And honest, like, you know, a lot of players are not like that. A lot of players, especially in MMOs, can be kind of very shy, and it's very hard for them to get into content and things like that. So they just have to end up waiting. You just wait. You just have to wait until these raids get nerfed. You know, how many months is it going to take? How many, maybe like a year or something for things to get nerfed so that I can play? It's a really crappy feeling to be like, here's this new awesome content that I can't do because I don't spend money, or I don't spend every waking day playing this video game. You know, it sucks, dude. It sucks that you can't just play stuff because it's like, nope, this is for whales only. So that's the number one thing. That is the number one most important thing. And honestly, this is a soft number one. I don't know if people still complain about this to this day, but seeing how modern gaming is, this is genuinely a problem. Okay, point number two for the ugly is we are still behind KR. I know it's on purpose. I know that is something that the devs genuinely want for the game for who knows what reason. And this is mostly me complaining about like an NA side / whatever other servers that they have these days, versus like the game in general. But honestly, having all your servers at a different patch is, especially in the modern gaming times, it's a big negative. It is a big negative. A lot of current games, like current big games like Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, live service games, Marvel Rivals, right? You're not playing Marvel Rivals from an old patch if you're playing for a different server. Everybody's playing the same patch. Everybody can kind of play with each other. Same thing with Genshin Impact, even though each of the servers, right? Each of the servers are separate, and you can't, like, if you're in North America, you can't play with somebody who's on the EU server, right? They are separate. They're all updated together, right? Is it still 4 weeks? Are we still like a whole month behind, or 2? I don't remember the distance, but like being behind when it comes to content doesn't feel good, at least in my opinion. I don't think that feels good at all. There are some, gacha games that are kind of behind if the game like started a little bit later. That's a little bit whole different scenario. but it doesn't feel good, right? I think the main point I'm taking away here is that it doesn't feel good to be behind on content, and so I think that's something that's going to be following this game for a long time, no matter what, right? No matter what, it's not changing, just like how the whale thing's not changing, the distance is not changing. All right, and number three, one, two, three, number three is, it's kind of, it's like kind of a complaint, but not really a complaint. And it's gonna be, yeah, this, you have to dedicate a lot to this game. If it's money, if it's time, you gotta grind. I mean, I know, like, Meteor Falcon, it's an MMO. Like, yes, I know, I understand that, but you know, this is more so a criticism of MMOs in general, as well as being a criticism of Elsword as well, right? The way games are now, the way live service games are now, is the strategy is you dedicate a chunk of your time a day, and there you go. And you come back the next day, right? You run your dailies, you use your stamina, and then bada bing, bada boom, there you go for the day. You're saving for the next character that you pull for, etc., 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 right? The time commitment and the money commitment is lower, but more consistent. Elsword wants everything from you. They want your time, they want a lot of time, and they want your money. They want a lot of money, right? Or it's either they want your time or your money, right? You know, you're not progressing in this game unless you're putting in a lot of time or a lot of money. Pick one or pick both, right? It's pick one or pick both, right? And if people do not mind that, there you go. You know, that's the MMO experience. But it is a big aspect of this game, and it's, you know, a very big negative of this game and many other MMOs too. You know, it's the old style, right? It is the old style. It's the old way that they operate. So of course they're going to keep operating like that. But it does make it not that desirable. You know, for people who have been, you know, because you have the different aspects, right? You have people who are like, have been playing this game for a long time, and it's the constant rat race of just like log in every day, run whatever daily dungeon you need to run, do the RNG mechanic to make your armor a little bit stronger, make your weapon a little bit stronger, wait for the next raid to come out, and if you're able to do the raid, you do the raid, and if you can't do the raid, until you're able to do it, and then you run the raid weekly, you know, and it's the constant rat race to constantly like getting a little bit of power every day. At a certain point, you're gonna hit the point where it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's the same thing doing again. That's kind of my fourth criticism. We'll get into that a little bit. It's this constant rat race of just like a little bit of power, and you might get to the point where you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore, and so you don't want to play the game anymore, and it really does take you out of it, and it really makes you not enjoy it. And it gets stronger, right? It's like a constant battle between the things that you enjoy, like the characters, like the gameplay, etc., versus the things that frustrate you, right? Like the constant grind, like the whale requirements, like, you know, it's like a fight. At a certain point, you may lose the fight, right? You may lose the fight to this is way too much. This is too much grinding. I can't put too much time and effort into this. Versus another game where it's like, they're only asking 15 minutes of my time every day. Versus Elsword, who's asking like upwards of an hour or two, maybe not per day, but like sometimes you need a good chunk of time, because like to run the dailies, run the weeklies, you know, it can be pretty much the point that I'm making here is that Elsword follows an old style of MMO stuff where you got to commit a lot of time or a lot of money, or sometimes time and money, and at this point with modern gaming, they ask a lot less time from you. So it can really hit hard when it's just like, you know, you're contrasting that now. It's just like these games, it's now don't ask as much time. Yeah, and so that's another aspect. All right, so it is time for my final point. I think the final thing to wrap this up, I think will be perfect, right? It is, I think, the number one, is it the number one criticism? I don't know if it's the number one criticism, but it is the most important thing and kind of the backbone as well. So I think ending off the video with this will be perfect. The final point, my final point I'm going to make about Elsword is that at the end of the day, it's a cycle. It is the same thing over and over again, and it will not change. It will never change. And that is the cycle of new raid comes out, only whales can do the new raid, maybe the raid gets nerfed, okay, new area comes out where you can get fresh new armors, and these fresh new armors are so much better than the last armors, right? And they're so good that you can do the older raid very easily, and now more people can do the older raid very easily to get the raid weapon. And now more people have the raid weapon. Okay, more people have the raid weapon. Maybe a new mechanic comes out to also give you some more power. Oh, here's a new raid with a brand new weapon. Okay, get this brand new weapon, build it from scratch again. And it's just like only whales can do it at first, though. And you have to wait for the next area to get the new armors that you also have to build from scratch. Okay, and then you get these new armors. Now you can do the old raid again to get the weapon. Okay, now everybody has... You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. And maybe there's some stuff in the middle of just like, oh, here we have a raid that doesn't give us a weapon, it gives us like this insane accessory set, or like it doesn't give us a new weapon, it just gives us something to make our weapon stronger, right? Maybe it's that type of thing, right? But you will never, and it will never get out of this cycle of simply new raid, new weapon, new area, new armor. Okay, enhance them both, right? That is the biggest pratfall. That is the biggest wall, you know, that you have to get over as a player. You know, as you're playing Elsword's content, there's this almost like this dread, right, of when a new weapon comes out. It's like this air, this omen, this cloud of dread, or, you know, for some people it's excitement, right, to make themselves more powerful. But it's just like you better enjoy that weapon you're using now. Get ready, get your funds ready for another plus 11, because we're about to hit you right now. Or you know, if you have plus 11, if you have plus 12, or some people have plus 13s, right? It's just like, here comes this cloud of dread, which is like, oh hey, the new weapon is coming, and ooh, this new weapon is the exact same weapon, but maybe it has one more mechanic. Ooh, right? You know, you started with a Rasa weapon, which had the adapt, and then you go into the which we call the birth weapon, which had the weapon enhancement, the weapon advancement quests, right? It made it a little bit stronger. And then you had the Ran weapon. I don't know what the Ran weapon does uniquely. It also has the weapon grindy quests to make it stronger. I don't know what new system it has. And then I'm sure the Doom Arparia weapon has, it's the same weapon, but it has one more new feature. And, you know, the titles as well, it's just like, oh, here's black and white, and it's really cool because it uses like L resonance stones to make you stronger, and like that's a cool thing. And then like here's the next Ran title, Natural Flow, and it's just like black and white, but it has this little bit extra thing, little tiny extra damage. And then it's just like, I'm sure Doom Arparia has something similar, where it's just like, oh man, the Doom Arparia title is just black and white again, but it just has something a little bit tiny different, and it's just like, at a certain point, I think you'll get tired of the cycle. Right? At a certain point, I do think people will get tired of the cycle, unless you are those players that are like super into the cycle. And am I saying right now that the cycle is an inherently bad thing? I mean, not really, right? You know, it kind of goes back to that argument I was saying before of like, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think the same kind of thing applies here, where it's just like, if people enjoy the cycle, you know, if people are still wailing for the weapon every time, hitting that plus 11, hitting that plus 12 of a fresh weapon, hitting that plus 10, hitting that plus 11 on 4 pieces of new armor. And if people are doing that every time and you're getting the funds for that, or if you make a fresh... Oh man, we barely even talked about making a new character, right? That's a whole nother kettle of fish. We're just like, oh man, imagine if you want to play as multiple characters. Yeah, good luck getting gear on them. Sometimes you can share gear, sometimes you can't. Good luck with that. We won't talk about that though. That's another aspect. But it's just like, you know, if people are doing that, you know, I don't know if I would say enjoy, but if people are doing that where they're constantly getting the new weapons, they're getting the new armors, they're plus 10ing it every time, they're plus 11ing it every time, and you're getting benefit from that as a company, and that's keeping you afloat, who am I to say, right? Same thing with ice burners, right? Ice burners also work in a cycle. It's like, here's one ice burner. Oh, this ice burner is slightly stronger than this ice burner, so you gotta get this new one. Okay, this one is slightly bigger than this one, so you get this one. It's like, oh, this one's really a lot better than this previous ice burner, so it's like a huge jump, and so everybody gets the huge jump. And then, you know, it's a cycle, right? It constantly is going. And in the cycle, the most of the player base aren't in the most recent stuff. They're always following behind, right? Not only are we following behind as a NA server behind KR, you're always following behind when it comes to like whale players versus like a normal free-to-play players, or even your budget players, right? And yeah, that will ultimately be the thing that in both ways keeps this game afloat, and also will be the maybe the end of this game is this constant cycle, because you'll hit a certain point where you don't want to do the cycle anymore. You'll hit a certain point where you're just like, I'm doing the same thing I've always been doing and nothing is changing. And I'll be honest with you, nothing will change, and they really don't have the encouragement to change anything about the cycle because it's working and it's keeping them afloat. And I think that's the unfortunate reality, is that the biggest issue, the biggest thing about Elsword really does hold it back the most when it comes to this cycle, but it keeps it afloat at the same time. You know, it is so frustrating, but it does keep them afloat, and I can't deny that, right? That's why Pity Enhanced is as bad as it is because if they made enhancing easier, you know, guess what? The game might not be around. You know what I mean? Game might not be around. Game might not be around. So, hey, that's kind of the reality sometimes, you know. But what's the takeaway here, right? What's the takeaway? Meteor Falcon, you have titled this video "The End of Elsword." Will Elsword be a dead game, or whatever I decided to title it, right? What is my main point? What is the main thing that I'm saying? Do I think Elsword Online will die? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the things that they're doing to keep it afloat will still be the things that they do to keep it afloat, and they do have genuine good aspects about the game, in the characters, in the gameplay, and there are other good things about the game, right? I just kind of hit those 2 points, but I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of good things to say about it. That's why they keep playing. It's like there are good attributes about this game, but there are definite negative attributes, and there are definite negative attributes that will never be changed, right? Do I think Elsword's gonna die? No. Do I think maybe it might die one day? Maybe. I think there is definitely a possibility. But more so, I think what's gonna be a possibility is they really do like isolate what they want to do. Maybe have a smaller team so they don't need to, you know, go as hard as they need to go, because like, you know, like an international tournament, I didn't even talk about PvP, right? Like an international tournament, they ain't ever gonna do that again. You know what I mean? That was more like a one-time thing. Or like the English dub, bro, they're never gonna record any more future lines for the English dub. You know, that's a waste of money. I think what's gonna happen in the future, and even more so what's happening now, is that they cater to the small audience that they have, and they keep it afloat with the strategies that they know will keep the game afloat. That's it. And it's like, if you as a player enjoy the cycle, then play the game, enjoy the cycle, enjoy the characters, right? Enjoy the gameplay, enjoy the gear, enjoy whatever it is you need to enjoy. Because at the end of the day, it's a game for people to play and enjoy. And if you're having enjoyment, if you're having fun, keep playing it. And if you're not, don't play. It's simple as. But as a game, as a company, do I think this game is going to be EOS? Genshin Impact, EOS soon. Genshin Impact is dying. Genshin Impact is... Why am I saying Genshin Impact? I mean Elsword. That's how you know. That's how you know I haven't played this game in a long time. What is it? Elsword, EOS. Elsword, this game is dying. Elsword, this game is ending. Do I think that's happening soon, bro? No. People love this game. People love playing this game. They're not going to get this game's experience anywhere else. And they do a really good job with like their characters and their story and their presentation. Dude, Duma Poria raid is like Lou finally like maybe reclaiming her throne and like meeting the people that betrayed her back in the day. Like, that's good stuff. Like, unironically, I didn't talk about really the story at all because I didn't really experience it, but it seems like the story is heading in a really fun direction with this Demon Realm stuff, and they're paying good respect to the story that was before and all these characters. Like, we dealt with Ran. Like, that was a plot point for years. And we finally dealt with the plot point that was plaguing, like, Ara and Chung. Like, that's a cool thing. That is genuinely a really cool thing. And if you're a fan of Elsword, like I was when this was happening, like, it's really cool to finally see that wrapped up. And now we have the Lu saga wrapping up, potentially. I don't know for sure what the story is. And, like, that's a really cool, and it's a good thing. Like, this game does good things. But that's, like... the benefit and the downside is like kind of what I talked about in the middle section, is like it does enough good to keep people kind of playing and around, and it does enough bad to kind of keep it afloat monetarily wise. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but kind of that's how I see it, is like it's kind of in this middle verse, you know, do enough good to keep players around and do enough bad to make sure you're monetized enough. And yeah, that's it. I think if I keep talking, I'm gonna keep saying the same things over and over again. I'm kind of already saying the same things all over again. There you go, guys. That is my final Elsword video. I will never make Elsword videos ever again, but I did want to give a nice bookend to kind of the saga of Elsword because I've been playing this game for like a long time, dude. I've been playing this game for. Oh, one more thing I will actually add. Is that honestly, I'm gonna be real with you guys and maybe take my experience. The way I've been playing Elsword Online is great. I don't need to worry about playing every single day. I don't need to worry about getting caught up with all the armors and things like that. And you know what I'm rewarded with? I'm rewarded with a plus 11 Rand weapon. I'm rewarded with like a Reforged 21 of the Tenebra set. And it's just like, and you know what's going to happen is I'm going to be doing the same thing, right? I'm going to be playing this game every couple months and I will be rewarded with a Doom Arparia weapon and whatever the new armor is, like the chip set, like a fully chipped out chip set, right? And that's what I'm going to be rewarded with because of the way that I play the game. And hey, it made me want to take my example. I think that is genuinely the best way to play Elsword. I still get to play Nova, Rain of Fire, Gig of Prominence, get to enjoy all this cool, awesome buff, the new mod skill, new mod 7 Burst, ooh, new mod Power Assault, good stuff, right? I get to enjoy all these things without the stress of playing every day, without the stress of getting into raid parties, making raid parties, you know, trying my best to like, you know, kiss up to the whales to make sure I get runs. I don't have to deal with any of that stress. I can just play the game and enjoy the game, come back every couple months, get a big power boost, and I think that's the best way to play. If you're like me and you enjoy this game and you love the characters and you're done with the rat race, you're done with the cycle of logging in every day, playing every week, trying to get raid parties and do what you need to do, honestly, play like me. Just play sparingly, you know? Don't quit the game. You don't gotta quit the game. Just play when you want to, you know, see when your character gets a nice big buff and play a couple dungeons and enjoy the gameplay aspect without having to worry about the gear aspect. I genuinely do not worry about my gear at all because I know for a fact eventually I'm going to get free gears that kind of gets me close and it'll be a big update, right? My last big thing was Birth Weapon maxed out with what was before Tenebrous Armor? Whatever was before Tenebrous Armor. That was my last big. I finished everything in regards to the gear system. And again, not playing for a long time and just kind of taking it casually rewarded me by giving me plus 11 Rand weapon with a fully maxed out set. And I'm sure it's going to happen again. I'm sure it's going to happen again. And I really think enjoying and playing this game in this way is really beneficial so that you can enjoy all the good aspects of Elsword without having to deal with the bad and the ugly aspects. All right, and that is it. I think that's it. I don't think there's much else for me to say. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I really hope you guys don't get the idea that I hate this game. I think Elsword is an amazing game, right? And I think it just makes decisions that suck, right? And sometimes they make decisions that suck because they want to keep this game afloat, you know, maybe I'm being a little bit too positive on that, or maybe they're just making these decisions because they're greedy, right? You know, people will say that sometimes too, and maybe, you know what I mean? Like, maybe, I don't know. But at the end of the day, this game makes the decisions that it does. I don't think it's dying anytime soon, but I do think that the problems with this game will persist and continue to be the problems with this game for a long, long time. And that's why me personally, I highly recommend playing this game like I recommend playing this game, which is you just play it every couple months and enjoy the new updates that come out and don't worry about the gear or anything like that. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Talk about stuff in the comments if you want. I'll probably respond to some of the comments if anybody watches this video. I don't even know if people go and watch this video or watch this far. If you watch this far into the video and you enjoy the way that I present things, you know, consider. You're not gonna stick around. Who am I gonna be honest? I tried saying that before. Okay, real quick. Okay, last thing. I swear. Just because it's the end of the video, who's even watching anymore? I think the big realization that I had when I switched from like Elsword content to like making like gacha like Genshin stuff like that is like how many people watched me just for the Elsword stuff, and it's more so because not many people were making Elsword stuff, and it's just like that did kind of suck because you know it's like I enjoyed making stuff for what's the word? I enjoyed making stuff And I thought that people were watching the content because they enjoyed how I was presenting things and how I was making things. But it's like, nah, more so that like not really any other people were making Elsword stuff, and I was kind of the only one. And it's like, you know what, that's fair. I think that's fair, but it's not something that I wanted for my channel, and not something that I wanted for my brand, is to be the person that like people only watch them because of what they make and not because of who they are. And that's definitely why I'll never come back to making Elsword stuff, because that's all it would be at the end of the day. Is like, I do like the game, but like I don't want to make stuff or make content with that kind of guys. Also, real quick, I know I keep saying one last thing, but whatever, who cares? This is gonna be my last Elsword video anyway, so I can rant and rave as much as I want. The content creator side of Elsword is like pretty barren, isn't it? Especially from the live streaming section. The footage you see behind you is me and my friends Hardy's and Nos streaming the game, and like just me and Nos streaming, we were kind of like dominating the category, and like just in general, it felt like the category was pretty barren. So it's sad to see that like the only time people really watch is like when Elsword themselves does like a big tournament, and you know, it's from the Elsword main channel, so it gets a lot of views, and it still gets a good amount of views. I think the PvP scene is still really fun to watch and really good to like live stream and commentate and things like that. But you know, even that has its own problems. I didn't even talk about PvP because like I was just a casual PvP player, you know. Like, why aren't they doing like weekly tournaments? Like, why is a player not spearheading like weekly tournaments, and they get funded by KOG, and they just kind of like do that and keep people interested in the game, because obviously people want to watch that stuff. Whatever. I'm complaining. You know, I'm rambling. Let's wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Elsword is not dying anytime soon. It's going to keep going, but it's going to keep going in the state that it's going to keep going. If you want to keep playing, keep playing. If you feel like the rat race, the playing every day is way too much, bro, just play every couple months. You don't gotta do all this dramatic thing where you quit, where you like delete your weapon and things like that. Just play every couple months and enjoy the good freebies that you will be rewarded with and you will be given if you do that. That is all for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day. This is the final Elsword video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and peace out.